idea of taping, about filming things. So we can have a brief discussion, guys, you know, but either it's we do or we don't. And it seems a shame, this is my editorial, that we don't get the thing out there. And it just seems to me, if you don't want your stuff to be out there, then don't say it. It's simple as that. I think that what we are going to do is, in the confidentiality of the salon, the more intimate meeting, clearly we're going to be discussing things that maybe some people have an extremely legitimate reason not to let out to the world, and we'll honor that. But I think that the groups have to decide that on their own. So, having said that, you guys, the open discussion, guys, what do you guys think? Film, not film?
I don't see the problem that we are discussing this open. So I don't see a problem there.
How about you, Jasmine?
I think that it depends on what purpose we have to be filming it, you know, what the purpose is. I think it's based on that, and if it's to inform people about what's going on, maybe, I honestly don't think people are going to be watching a video for an hour, honestly, of people talking. So we want the main points to get out there. Maybe it should be something more short and like an overview after the meeting, honestly, because I don't think it'll be very effective for people to actually listen to the whole thing. But I have nothing against it necessarily either.
Jackie?
I think it's important to film it because it's an historical document of how this coalition was formed, and it's not necessarily to show it to people, but to have it as a document of how it was formed.
Anybody else? I guess, Yasana?
I believe that this is part of history in the making, as Armando states, and we want to be open to the community, because hopefully this will be something that the community will be able to share or be a part of. And so, obviously there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of personal stuff that comes out, but again, if it's something you do not want out there, then it shouldn't be shared. I don't think it's a place to really talk about that. So, I don't have a problem with it.
The one thing I know is some people who haven't been able to attend the meetings have been watching the videos in lieu of being able to attend. And so it's been informative of letting them see our process. But the question I would like to pose is, if someone has something to say that wouldn't want for other people to be able to view later, but is vital to the conversation, what would we think about at certain times saying we're quoting closed session in the same way that, for example, other agencies do? If there's something that, and then that would be the signal that.
Who determines that, Debbie? That's
Well,
a slippery slope.
Well, I think it's the person who's comfortable requesting it.
Then
and
don't
saying
say
that
shit.
Okay,
go on.
Sorry, you need
Go on,
to discuss.
go on, okay.
And so the fact is, if the person requests it and then other people are saying, no, this is too vital, this part needs to stay there, then that would be a decision at the moment.
Wouldn't it be good to have that closed last comments or anything that you didn't say in the meeting at the end, when everything is already over, they stop thinking, and then people can talk about things that they didn't really wanna talk about publicly? Because sometimes people might have things to say that they wanna discuss and share with the group and get their feedback, but not necessarily say it out loud, because it could be sensitive information people could misinterpret. I mean, that's just something I can come up with, but that's an idea.
I agree with that, because that's what we do in the board of directors meeting in there. And so there's some 10 minutes with just the board there. All the staff just get out, whoever is taking the minutes or whatever. We just get out and the board just meets. And so same thing, like I just saying, the last 10, 15 minutes or half an hour, whatever that they wanna say. But at the time being, like Armando said, don't say it. It is so personal, and you don't want anybody else to know, but don't say it.
Okay, so to me, it seems like we have three choices now instead of two. It's either film all the time, film none of the time, or film all the time except for, quote, the closing session, the closing comments. So,
I
yeah.
prefer the third one.
So, can we just ask, okay, so for, right now, how many of you vote?
One of the things is, a lot of people are not here, one. A lot of people are not here. I think that I need to say that, you know, Tony and Autumn are filming for us old people. The idea of having us filmed and having something on record is incredibly important. I think that you younger generation people think that this is ubiquitous and it's been everywhere. It hasn't. Debbie and I have never been filmed like this, ever. Maybe Debbie has, I haven't. I know the importance. And the importance is that this thing is already moving people to a degree that we've never had movement, ever, ever. And the guy that is the most guilty of, you know, saying, oh shit, ya la metí otra vez, or ya la regué, you know, is me. I don't give a shit. So, I'm telling you, as one of the leaders, and you guys can decide, that this is history in the making. Don't start censoring because you're gonna go slippery slope on us. If you don't have anything to say, and it might hurt you, and it might, use your better judgment, we're all adults here. Those two kids, we can kind of, you know, say, you know, they don't have that judgment. We do. And there is gonna be a process, I think, where we're gonna formalize a little bit more. You know, the spirit, you know, wanting and keeping us together, because we're already, and we're gonna talk about fragmentation. That's gonna be one of the topics real quick. Look at the colors that we have right now. Look at who's representing right now. It's real important. And that's why I wanna be taped so people can't misconstrue what I said. And who is doing the work. And why is it important that we talk about what we're talking about and how we're talking about it. So I think that I brought it up. I don't necessarily think that we should vote today. I'm bringing it up as a discussion. I think that we need to have more people here. But maybe I should have qualified it that way.
So, no, I was just saying it, that the possibility, we could always change our mind, right, if we were, whatever we decide. So I think that it's wise to let's do a straw vote right now and see where this group thinks, and then we'll also bring it up when we have other groups, maybe a second time, like, you know, different readings, they have first vote, second vote, to clarify. So just right now, the choices that we were talking about are always film, never film, or film except for what we would call the closing session portion of the meeting. How many of you vote for number one, always film?
Debbie, you're going too quickly. The closing session, who's gonna determine what the closing session is? We have no formality right now. I brought it up as an issue to discuss. Everybody has an idea, everybody has a belly button, we're gonna discuss that. Everybody's gonna do that, so, but there's no formality here.
Okay, we're only doing a straw vote right now, where people go. So how many people would want to do always film? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many vote for never film? Okay, how many vote for film everything except for what we decide to be a closing session? Okay, so we have this tentative vote. Let's put this on hold for the next meeting, and then we'll talk about it at a future time just to decide. Okay, so can we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. These meetings take a lot of work, guys. And we're gonna repeat again. You have to do your research. Debbie is sending out a lot of stuff. I'm sending out a lot of stuff. Jim and Benny have been sending a lot of stuff, and I think that, you know, we've got a lot of stuff out there, and Jaime sent out some stuff as well. A lot of stuff out there, and if you research, there's even more. So if you come and you're not prepared, and you haven't done your due diligence, you're gonna be behind the power curve. And this is moving very rapidly. And what's occurring is, it's moving to a place where we've never been. That is that the communities of color, special populations, whatever definition you want to use, are moving toward a modality, a therapy, a treatment that begins to address our pain, our health, mental health, pain and health, and also methods that have never been given much recognition and support by the institutional powers. I mean, if that doesn't resonate in your head and say, wow, then nothing will. And then number two, because we have been validated at a level that Debbie and I have never been validated before, in education, never, in art, never, in government, never. But this system, this mental health wellness system is so broken that we've been validated already. They've conceded. We don't know how to do it. You guys are doing something, let's support you. And that just occurred in a matter of 3 or 4 months. Debbie and I have been on this for 50 years. It occurred in 3 or 4 months. So, what has to be done, and for the sake of recording, is that this isn't anymore about convincing people, guys, institutional people. No matter how much people harangue and jump up and down, we don't have to convince people anymore. They've conceded. I give, uncle, I got it. So now the institutions, the people that hold the money, are saying, what do you got? And if you've got just bullshit, then you're not going to get funded. You got to have systemic programming. And you have to be able to articulate a plan to that program. Even if it's just minimal, superficial, developing, in the process of getting to the next level. But you have to have something. And that's where we are already. And that's why people are missing at the table. Because we're not at convincing people, we're at programming. And then data gathering and synthesizing that data so it supports us to the level that we need to be supported. So if we don't do that work, then somebody else will come along and fill that void. And potentially there are those people out there already that are doing that. But you can't fill a void without a program. That's the problem here. So, Debbie has asked for everybody to submit, quote unquote, a synthesis, an idea, a program. There's only been 3 or 4 people that have done it. There's a lot of people clamoring and stating that they have a program. We're asking you, in our very best, loving, empathetic voice, to produce that synthesis so we can start working together. It's fine. And so we need that. And if you guys don't understand the importance of that, then we can't burp you guys. No, we don't have the description of program. We need that.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. Now, you said there are bunches of people that have been here before that have programs.
No, I didn't say that.
You said there's people that have been clamoring and saying that they have programs.
That they say that they have programs.
Okay, but they're not giving you the information that you
They're not
need
producing it to the
put
group.
this together.
They're not producing it
How
to the group.
many do you need for it to be considered valid?
We're not talking
The
about
more the
ballot.
more the merrier, is that basically?
No, we're not talking about merit. We're just talking about if you say you've got something and this is the forum for it, produce it. So we can synthesize it and give it to everybody. Simple stuff, Ruth. It's not being done. Simple. It's not rocket science here. It's simple. We've been asking for 3 or 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we haven't got it. So there must be something going on that we're not aware of. On the, now the next step, the survey. I took it upon myself, Debbie took it upon herself, some other people took it upon themselves to put a cut and paste survey. It's out there, and people have taken it and run with it. It's impossible for me, as a Mexicano, a Chicano, to do it for blacks. It's impossible for Debbie. Ain't gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. But the stuff is out there. So synthesize it, work with it, get together, knock it out. The gay community, same thing.
Well,
The,
I sent her some,
I'm sorry,
Oh, send me some.
I
Yeah.
sent her some questions.
okay.
You did.
Questions? So maybe we need to reframe this. It's not about questions, it's about creating your own survey in conjunction with questions.
No, but that's what it was.
That's
Yes,
what it was.
yes, okay.
And
So,
Jackie did also.
and the reason why we're asking this to be front burner stuff is because we're moving forward with the institutions. And that's why this is so important. This is timely now.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, so far, Anna sent a wonderful survey of her ideas. Ruth sent some ideas for a survey, and Jackie sent some ideas for a survey. So we have some people, other people's ideas, but we need more than that. And Anna Carrillo, who's not here right this minute, actually took and put the survey into a free survey that lasts for 10 days. And it can be only 20 questions, and it can go up to 50 people can fill it out. And so far, I know the last thing that I heard, we had 11 people that filled it out within the first day. So I don't know how many other, but that's what we're saying, is that we want to have that pilot idea that we've been able to at least get some feedback on, so we know if we're moving in the right direction or not. So, anyway, so that's where we are.
It's been the first time in 50 years that Debbie and that I'm doing work, that the police chief is coming after me because of the mental health survey. It's been the first time that the county at the very highest level are calling us and stumbling almost over themselves to try to get a date with us. It would seem to me that that's a prompt for us to understand that we've got something.
Something to be proud of.
Proud and progressively moving forward. Yes, Sonia, yes.
Just to clarify also, because, I mean, I've been to most of these meetings, I've missed two, and I've seen new faces that have not attended, so I think it's just to kind of give the big picture of what we want to do with this coalition. We were talking about programs and we were talking about a survey. So what is the purpose of that? Okay, so in my mind, the programs are, what else is there to offer the community as far as help? When you need mental health assistance, okay, what is out there? That's programs in my mind. The next one is surveys. We need to gather data. So when we go out there and present to government officials or whoever has a deep pockets, we have evidence of what it is that the community needs, and this is what we're gonna take to them. So right now we are in the planning stages of what could be a good survey in order to get this data. Does that make sense? Am I right?
Yeah.
Good, okay, well said.
And because we've broken it down into 5 populations, that's what makes us unique and maybe growing, it becomes problematic. It becomes difficult, but it's very democratic and it's very transparent. But in democracy, it goes like this, everybody has to, do their share of the work. And the share of the work is also being pushed by timeliness and calendar that sometimes we have absolutely no control. The county says jump and we gotta jump. The chief says we got a date, we gotta do it. Other people do that, and if it involves 30 or 40 people, it's difficult. So we have to decide how we're gonna move on this as quickly as we can. And so, but we had a meeting, by the way, with the Oxnard School District, presented just a general idea. And one of the things he said, we'll support you if you have a plan. We don't have a plan. We don't have anything right now. We're trying to develop it. So we all have to do our work, and we have to move forward with that, okay? Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, I think we do have a plan, and it's just the plan isn't completed yet. So our plan is that we're going to have our 5 special populations create their own data gathering method of surveying people and finding out which programs exist and are working for healing, for self-healing or grouping. And so I think we've clearly stated what our plan is. I think it's just gathering the data
stated the plan here,
Mhm.
and many of us are still somewhat, confused about what the plan is. The people out there, the superintendent doesn't know our plan. The people that we're gonna talk to at the county, they don't know our plan, so we have to fine tune our plan. The other thing that is occurring, and we've gotta stop it real quick, is we can't import outsiders. We just cannot. We cannot import people that are gonna come in from other counties to do the work for us. Just, it won't happen.
Can you explain that questionnaire gonna serve those 5 populations?
I don't think one questionnaire can serve all 5 populations, because then it's not going to be culturally congruent and culturally relevant. Some of the questions, are you getting services now, and some of them are rather generic. Are you satisfied with the services that you're getting? Those are generic, and then we need to fine tune questions that will be matching or be more, what do you think?
Okay, so they need to be a little more specific.
I think so, for each population.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just curious, so when you met with the superintendent, what was the intent of that conversation? What was the,
Basically to ask if we could, if he felt that it would be a good way for us to be able to connect with parents who could talk about the services that are provided for their children, because it would be a way to connect with young people as opposed to older audiences that we're
more
looking at.
data gathering?
More data gathering,
Just
definitely.
to survey the
Mhm.
parents? Okay.
Through the school site council or
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, Frank?
In just going over Hyman's report or Lula's report, it seemed like the report, the main principle was that there was no services, there was a lack of services to minority communities within the county from behavioral health and mental health. And it's not saying that there aren't programs, except that we can't access them, that they're not available to our communities. And I think I can see the data, so in essence, you can prove that there is a lack of services and in which communities and what they want access to. But I think we could spend several years here developing a program to fit each of our own communities. I think we should first, let's find out what they have that works and that doesn't work. And let's pull some of that in and enhance it for our communities, the parts that work.
You know what, Frank, the thing that is great, except what we're doing is saying that programming that is coming through, for example, traditional county systems, isn't working and isn't reaching the people. So what we're saying is, if we talk to our special groups and say, in lieu of not having those other services, what have you discovered that is working when you have mental health issues? Is it a Zumba or an art project, or what sort of alternative ways have you found within your own community that help heal, that help people when they're depressed, other issues? And so that's what we're trying to find. When we asked about programming, there are 2 ways of looking at it. One is actual specifically culturally relevant activities and programs that soothe the troubled souls, and the other one is the specific plan that we have from this group of what to do. Yeah.
But Debbie, some people don't even know they're ill.
Sorry, Frank?
Some people do not even know they're ill or what they're suffering, much less going out to find self-help or support for themselves. And I think they first have to understand that, if I got a problem, then I can start to look out for what I have. Where can I find that help? And I think that's part of the problem, at least what we're encountering is, there are a lot of adults out there in our communities that don't even understand that what they're suffering.
Okay, guys, let's go back.
But
Let's
in
go,
that way-
hold on, Jackie. Let's go back.
But it's relevant to what he's saying. In that questionnaire, there are 2 questions that say, do you have relatives that suffer mental illness? Or that are, in that questionnaire, refers to people that in your family that suffer from mental illness.
The questionnaire was gonna be problematic, guys. we gotta accept that the institutions are conceding that they have a problem. Don't fight this, guys. My goodness, don't fight it. They have conceded that they're not providing, not even adequate service, horrible service to us. And that the programmings that they have are horrible. Do not fight that. It's conceded. It's conceded at the federal, state, and local level. It's conceded. So don't fight that argument anymore. What we have to do now is prepare a survey in such a way that we help communities of color understand that what mental illness is, what sickness might be out there, who they can turn to, what they're doing in terms of doing something about it, and what they can possibly do in the future to make mental health wellness more universally available to the 5 populations. I took the survey and I'm responsible for putting together 40 questions because I took the meat of what Jaime has said, what Jim has said, and I put it into a Latino framework. You guys want to go universal. I don't want to do that. I want to go very specific because I know as a Latino what I need. Debbie doesn't know. Nobody knows. I know for the Latino. And so I put it down as such. And I made no pretense to say that I was doing it for the blacks or for the gays or anybody. It was too long, it's too short, it's too this, it's too that. It's trying to glean information so that we can then extrapolate from that 40-question questionnaire to provide us the data that we need. That's what I was trying to do. But nobody got it. So let's make it smaller. And now it's 20, and it's very general. And it doesn't satisfy me at all. I think it's bullshit, basically. We are attempting to create a new model. Not build on a broken model, a new model. And we have this opportunity. So those people that are conceding that there's something out there and that it's good, I don't know if this is the meeting for you guys. Because the experts have already conceded that it's broken. So what we have to do is do the work to knock out surveys, data gathering, programming, like we say we wanted. This is why we've gotten together. Now let's do the work. This is where we're at. We have to do the work. So I think that the Latino, quote unquote, special populations is moving ahead a little bit. And we're setting up the meetings. And we're moving forward. And if the black community does that, we'll be right there with you, brothers and sisters. If the gay community, will be right there. But we don't see that movement occurring in the other populations. So, look at the surveys. If you're black, make it comfortable to you. If you're gay, make it comfortable to you. If you don't give a shit, just say it.
How about we have a committee? A committee with representation, that's to say, as much as possible from each of those groups?
You mean a black committee, a brown committee, and so forth?
One committee with representation with these different groups on it as much as possible. And then let's get together and try to come up with a survey. Since, instead of waiting for it to trickle in from different places, which may not happen in a timely fashion, let's just see if we can get some volunteers to come up with a committee. I'll be on it, and then I'm gonna do my best to represent black women, and I know I'm gonna do a good job. And then anybody else who wants to do that,
What
and
we-
then
yes.
we can come, and then we can stop the.
Ruth, what we agreed early on, and this is what we're doing, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, but what we agreed on was the 5 populations.
Yeah,
Black people would get together because it's uniquely their tool.
but that's.
Mexicans would get together and it would be, and then we would come
It's
together.
not happening.
It is happening. It's happening on the Latino side. And what I'm saying is, I'm not quite sure if Juna can identify that every one of these pieces of cloth is somebody that has has met with an ill fate, with a tragedy, but it's certainly, every piece of cloth represents a journey. And a journey as a Mexican immigrant to a better place for our family. In some cases, it's just food. In other cases, it's running away from violence, repression. You know all about that, compañero, right? And so this is a healing modality for somebody. And this is something that's very, very much about what we want to do in our community when we start talking about mental wellness. It's not just sitting on a couch and talking to a guy or a woman. It's about doing stuff. And about talking about the experience. And about doing it again. And about taking control about how we are going to address mental pain and mental wellness. And this is why this is so exciting. It's just a hands-on project.
Thank you. Sorry to keep you guys waiting I'm just trying to get the pictures because it's so much better.
Do you know the one thing while we're waiting just for a second? Some of us were here a while ago. And what we found was that in addition to this wonderful project at the borders, we also have healing needs in the community. For example, parents who have lost a child through death, or lost a child through the justice system, or for some other reason that a person has been deported, or a person has had issues. So those areas of loss in our community could also be helped by this methodology of this programming. In addition, we had an idea that perhaps we could work with the farm worker families, and that we can start gathering bandanas or the headpieces that people are using, and the celebration that would also match how do we keep our society whole? How do we recognize those issues of fragmentation by actually constructing something? So there's so many different ways that this type of programming is actually a tangible process for people to feel a sense of healing. And it might not apply to everybody, but it's a possibility.
One of the mental health methods right now that we use when kids in our community hurt and kill one another is there is a program called, what's the program Mothers for? Mothers for Murdered Children.
Yes, parents of murdered.
Parents of Murdered Children. That's taken a kind of a macabre kind of difficult kind of turn. What these people that are grieving the parents is that they've turned to the police authorities to exact basically justice, maybe vengeance against those people that are hurting their own kids. That doesn't heal. That does something very different. But institutions come up with stuff like that. And then they ask us, because there's nothing else, and in grief, people jump at those opportunities. So what Juna is presenting is something very, very different. It provides a circle of redemptive freedom for everybody involved. So,
Thank you. I actually wanted to hear just who we have in the room.
Okay.
I'm hoping that you guys could just briefly introduce yourself. I don't know if everybody here knows each other,
yes.
but you do?
No, we can introduce
Well, we
each
don't
other.
know your family.
Yes.
If you could just say your name, if you want to say something else about yourself too, it would help me to know who's here.
Armando Vasquez, immigrant from Guadalupe, Jalisco. Spent 3 horrible years on a trash bin, on a trash heap in Tijuana, outside the outskirts of Rosarito Beach. We lived in shacks, and every night there was a wind, and every night we'd be chasing our house somewhere down the cliffs of that horrific place. There were thousands of us.
And I'm Debbie DeVries, and I'm just here to be supportive.
I'm
Julie Medina, and I was also smuggled into this country when I was 7 years old.
I'm Jackie, I'm Puerto Rico, I'm an artist.
Hello, I'm Samuel, I'm a sociology major at Denver College.
Oh, okay, sorry. Hi, I'm Ruth Jones, registered nurse, world citizen, author, very, very eager and interested participant in this process. And I just want to see it go forward, because this is amazing.
Don Montgomery, native Oxnard, Oxnarder, and a community action.
Ernest Stein, Oxnard native.
Ana del Rio Palma, also an immigrant, 3 years old when my parents brought me over. And now I consider myself a native in Oxnard.
My name is Frank Barber, and I'm just a community resident, retired.
Nancy and Don.
Nancy Koza, I'm a survivor, molestation, child molestation, and abuse as a teenager, as well as, well, that's enough. Anyway, I'm here also as sources. I got through all of this.
I'm Don Koza, and I'm a citizen.
I'm Tony D. I'm the president of the Oxnard Video Magazine.
Hello, my name is Autumn, and I'm a photographer for Video Oxnard Magazine.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm also an Oxnard native. I'm Yasmin, and I'm an immigrant from Oaxaca, and just a citizen of Ventura. I was raised in Ventura, and I live in.
I'm Rene Corrado, I'm from Guatemala. I had to cross 2 borders, Mexico and the United States, illegally without papers. Because I had 35 years of civil war in Guatemala. And as Armando, when I was a child, I was eating from the trash in there. Now I am a biologist and a writer.
I'm the father.
The proud father.
The Mexican side of our family came when you could just drive across, drive back, you know, live in Mexico City, go back to Houston, there was never any problem. Because it was Mexico first anyway. And I got to go 2 years ago to Junatagua Prieta, which is in Sonora, and Lila went last year. All this clothing is just so damn hot, you can't believe it. And you can't drive, you have to walk for a couple hours to get to the border, and when you get over the fence, which takes 15 seconds for a 20-year-old man, just shimmies up the fence in 20 seconds. This thing costs billions of dollars. It's completely useless. And they told me in the winter, when the storm comes, it knocks the fence down. Wow. So now they put gates in it. In the winter, when there's a lot of water, they lift these gates up so that it doesn't knock the fence down, but I don't know how it keeps people out. But all this clothing, it's just too hot, so sometimes they abandon some of their love letters too. So it was really very touching.
Josh, introduce yourself.
I'm Josh Reese. I'm just a student at Oxford College. I'm born and raised in Oxnard, California. And I got introduced to Hispanic by Melissa and Yvette not too long ago, and it kind of got me whooped backing up the organization. It's something that I know needed back in the 80s. And I guess we're seeing it now. It's changing 21st century for humanity, rights, culture. And we can all make a change in the country that we have for opportunities. So that's who I am.
And we have 3 kids, Isaac, Alexis, and Alicia. Alisa.
Hello.
Hi.
They're going to be participating right now.
Thank you so much. If you guys want a little piece of yarn in the back, kids, you can come get one. hearing their stories of what it was like to work on the border. And so it was very moving to me. And another part of it was just to go out and walk in the trails where people actually cross the border. And so this is a place I've been to many times. It's right outside of the city of Agua Prieta. And you have to drive for a long time through the desert to get here. And you have to walk if you were trying to be concealed in that process. And so you guys, so many of you, it's really awesome and wonderful, just rich to have people who have this story of migration already here with us. Because often I will tell this story to people who don't have that in their family or don't have that as part of their personal experience. And that was what motivated me initially to do this project, is to help educate people who have no personal connection to the stories of immigration or of migration within their lifetime or their generation. And so just briefly, many of you, if you want to raise your hand if you've seen the wall before on the U.S.-Mexico border. It's a mighty thing, and also it's very flimsy in other ways. It's about 800 miles long, which is about almost half of our border with Mexico, which is 2,000 miles. And it was created just in the cities. It's meant to push people out. Actually, it's not meant to. It's meant to deter people as a barrier, and then a barrier is supposed to be made naturally by the desert or the mountains or the rivers. And instead what happens is many people are pushed out of the cities to these more dangerous areas to cross. As you can imagine, cities have much more surveillance. You go down there and you feel like you are in a military zone, in a war zone. And so as a result of these strategies, basically people are pushed out into these dangerous places. Many people perish in the desert, about 200 a year in many areas. And since 1998, there's numbers all over the place on this. I keep on trying to find good information. If anybody has a great source for that, I do the research every time I present. But most recently, I found 6,000 people since 1998 they believe have died in this journey, just on the U.S.-Mexico border. It's not counting the southern border or the dark border or through Mexico. That's a whole part of the journey as well. And most of those deaths happen from exposure, from heat exhaustion, from dehydration. People are coming from very different, very diverse climates, some from temperate, some from tropical. And we're lucky we know what it's like in the desert here, but it's a really, really extreme heat in the daytime and really extreme cold in the nighttime. So it's hard for people to know how to plan for that. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of evidence of human traffic through the desert. And so you can see here's a picture of these things. Like this piece on the right, that white pair of shorts is here actually today. And so you find lots and lots of water bottles, but also you find lots and lots of clothes. And so as I began to be really moved by these stories, I wanted to share them. I found that what made the most sense to me is to use these clothing and the things left behind to bring back physical evidence of the journeys to people here that are in the United States. And so I wanted to be able to share the story on an emotional level and a personal level with people, rather than the way that it's talked about on a national level as such a general story. And so they often do talk about individual stories, and that's a way to rehumanize immigration. And so this is a way to even take that further, where you're physically contacting a person, and we don't know, it's a mystery what happened to the person whose clothes we get to work with here. So these are some pictures of things that we found there, and some of them are here, or pieces of them are here today. Jeans, underwear, these shorts, and you can see there's different kinds of people or different kinds of clothing that's being left behind. The name of the project that came after I began to collect the clothing and create these quilts is Mending Patriotism. And that name came out of the response to what was happening on this militarized border. So this sense of patriotism being about exclusion, the immigrants being talked about as an invasion, as illegals, very dehumanized, or being a threat to Americans. And so, and
dehumanizing signs like this, where it's kind of the same as you would see like an Animal Crossing sign, right? So really disturbing, really disturbing. And the kind of anti-immigrant language that we hear now is very similar to what arose after September 11th. And so we can think about it as people leveraging our national heartbreaks to create enemies. So thinking of ourselves as different from others is a way to be safe, or is a way to feel safe psychologically. And so I'm starting to wonder if there are other ways we can use those heartbreaks, and this is one of them.
Gina, is that your quote, or is that from somebody else? Leveraging our national heartbreak to create enemies.
It's kind of my quote. It's kind of like I use some of the stuff from YouTube videos I found. So just thinking about how much things changed after 9/11 in regards to our sense of outsiders and insiders, and there's a lot that we can do to move beyond that now. It's been a long time, and I think we can be more sophisticated. I hope it. So can we imagine a different way of being part of this country? Can we imagine what a different kind of patriotism would look like? And I've always rejected the notion of patriotism. It's always been kind of funny to me, and flag flying seems weird. And so that's why I'm attempting to reclaim this term a little bit. Is what could it mean to us instead? And so started to gather images and ideas of what it could mean instead. And mostly what I've come down to as the main concept is participation in our own communities, which is really what you are doing here at Cafe on A in terms of mental health and healing of the community. And trying to just talk about some of the issues that are going on a structural level here, and make those less, make those more transparent, basically. So I want to pass around pieces of the clothing for you guys to look at. And can I help you? Yes, please. You could take.
It's all been painted by the sun. Yes. No jerk.
You take some. Right.
And then go out.
Thank you, Jane. So if you might get a pile, you might get this one item. You can just take one item. Did you all get some?
There's a pen to write up.
I think most people have gotten it. Thank you. So after you receive an article of clothing,
Or did you cut?
If it looks like it has scissor marks, it probably was cut. But
You cut.
yeah, this one, you can look behind this on this skirt. This is the same.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to figure this out. How did they get this state?
Yeah, some of them, like this one over here, this was found exactly Ernest. When Ernest has basically how this was found, like just shredded.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But the ones that are square edges usually have been used to
What happened?
expose her to the elements that are toxins there. And so in one part of the earth it's raining all the time, the rest of the time it's
Are the angels of the desert still in existence?
You mean for water?
Yeah, when they leave water flows.
Yes, absolutely. So that's part of who I went over. I'll tell you about it. So, if you feel called to share what you and your partner were talking about, I'd love if we could share amongst the bigger group a little bit. Some of your reactions to what it feels like to encounter this clothing. Yeah. Yasmin?
Well, I was talking to Melissa, and I just first I thought, man, like this makes me think about one of my friends' moms could be wearing something like this, you know, like a mother with children. But at the same time, then I thought, well, what if this woman has to wear this to be able to cross the border? Because you know, there's like really crazy stories about that. This isn't normal underwear either, you know. So maybe it just makes me think about the woman and what she had to do maybe to get this to happen for her, you know. There's a lot of possibilities. Melissa was talking about the ones that did it.
Yeah, that one was kind of blood.
It just makes me think about a guy that I might know, that a young guy that will wear
Such great things.
And
Sorry.
on this one, this bit of pants, it caught my attention. That is the mending of the pants.
Yes, right.
It's very carefully mended.
Yes, it is.
They're raggedy as can be, but people are still trying to, you know, make them
Survive.
survive.
And that we're gonna do some mending later today. Actually, I didn't notice that one has already been mended. Other reactions?
Yeah, look how ironic this is. The American eagle left in the desert to die. Yeah, so where's the freedom? Just kill the eagle. Made in America.
Yeah.
We came across a shirt,
Oh,
but this is homemade. And it's interesting the way they, you know, I guess it's a piece of carpet. So,
Does anybody know what these are? The shoes?
The warming pants, right? Keep you warm.
They're to cover footprints.
Oh, footprints.
So that's why they're so big, like a slipper. You tie them on over your shoe, and so they're meant
Can't follow
to,
the tracks.
yeah, cover tracks.
The coyotes wear that.
Any other reactions or other pieces anyone wanted to share?
well, my shirt, this is a very expensive shirt. So, to me, I mean, people that are crossing the border, doesn't matter their class or whatever. So, I mean, I think this is silk and obviously into a set state.
You're absolutely right. That is a shirt that's by Armani. So I had a really beautiful like sun pattern on it before. We cut that up to use it in the skirt. But it's really interesting to see some of the stuff like the American Eagle pants and stuff because these have a story of they're made in some country around the world. They part of living there. Yeah, right, right. Yeah, against the wages that are often out. Most of the ones that I visited were pretty good in terms of the conditions. It seems like, so there's definitely a range there.
There's a lot of agencies that take clothing from the U.S.
Exactly, as an aid program. Right. We're going to talk a little bit more about how our stuff moves around too, and what that means for us. Keep this up in front of you, so you all will use it again. So what we're talking about, like kind of what we're circling around talking about this stuff is this concept of decolonizing our fibers, decolonizing our clothing, our food, decolonizing our mind as well. So for me, and that's what you're talking about with the mental health stuff as well, finding different ways, different systems of providing health services that are culturally appropriate for your community. And so talking about decolonization on a personal scale for me means being able to take back some of the materials of my life and to be able to regain my connection to the material world, and especially to nature and to creativity. And so being able to provide for myself and making things myself, to me, is very healing. And to be able to recreate or recycle some of these things that were provided to me through exploitive trade relationships, for me, is a way to heal with them. And so that's how these quilts came to be. I made the flag quilt over there by Dan originally as a message about what patriotism would look like. And I wanted to put it also, Dan, you're sitting on this ladder, which was collected at the border as well. So you can take a look at it later when you get up, and there's hooks on the end of where
It's made of iron ties, right?
right, kites and rope there too. So it's really heavy. And so the cool thing that you guys are working with, they became the raw materials of this story, and it became a different way to work with how to leverage this heartbreak in a very different way. And so I'm really excited about the ideas that they did. And so, and in a real physical way too, and how we work together. Just a little bit about who helped make this book, the falda over there. This group of women and also some men that are not here that live in Sonora, and they are mostly part of a church group together. That's how they know each other. And they were the ones who helped come up with the idea. They came out to the desert. You can see in the middle picture that the gates are open for the water, like my dad was saying. And also some of these men here live in a drug rehabilitation center. And so we worked together this summer for 3 weeks in working with the migrants' clothes and sewing with them. And some of them are former coyotes as well. And as part of their service, they go out and they fill water tanks in the desert, like Frank, you were saying.
Yeah, but there's that Angels of the Desert do it too.
Sorry?
The Angels of the Desert leave the half-gallon waters over.
That's right. These ones, they're on the Mexican side, and they fill like big water tanks. But on the U.S. side, some people fill water tanks from their ranches, and sometimes you'll go there and people have shot them out. So people don't want that water. They don't want that support to be there. It's really hard to take. This is where we made this quilt behind you guys over here. It's an adobe building. Just an extension cord from the neighbor's house for power. A lot of it was sewn by hand. I hope you'll take a look at the close stitching. A lot of the women worked until it was dark out every day while we finished it. And this is a finished product. You can see it spread out here. And it kind of looks like feathers or scales.
Like a bird.
Like a bird, exactly. And so, like I said, actually it was 2 skirts that we made. This is just the American one. And these 2 skirts are symbolically representing the story of family division across borders. So we're tracking the stories of what happens to whole bottom half, so like about 55% of our fiber goods are imported from China, and then about 10% from Vietnam, about 10 from India, a little bit less from Indonesia, a little bit less from Mexico, a little bit less from these other countries. And so, and very few are made within the US. And the conditions are usually not as good as they would be if they were made here, because there's a lot less regulation in those countries, and US can buy it for much cheaper than produce it here. And so basically we're talking about colonization, we're talking about an exploitive relationship.
Exploiting people to wear Armani shirts.
Exactly. Armani shirts and Target shirts. I mean, let's be honest, where we shop too is absolutely part of it. And it's not anything that we did, it's just this is the system that we are working within. And so how can we imagine a different system, and how can we break free a little bit from that? And so another option is to bring things into our community as ways to be a model for how to localize these resources instead of outsource them. And so part of it is, if we can localize these resources, we can also get all these other benefits, like healthier livelihoods for our community, not just jobs, but a whole livelihood that can incorporate an intergenerational population, and also to increase our skill base and our knowledge base within Ventura County, within our community, and increase our infrastructure here too. So here's just some pictures of people, and mostly I was Googling the word livelihood earlier today when I was trying to make this collage, trying to finish this, and it's all pictures of aid projects in other countries. And I was like, why is it not a thing in the United States? It's so strange. It was like so many pictures of amazing projects happening in India, in Indonesia, in Haiti, all these wonderful places, and I'm so glad that that's happening there too. But it was not even a concept in America. There was no representation of that. And so these are just some ways for us to imagine what some localized resources might look like in terms of building traditional knowledge skills, and how they might help us. And so to take it even a step further, I want you guys to imagine what a local fiber system in Ventura County would look like, because it's actually happening in Northern California. There's a group up there called Fibershed, where they're just using the materials, the labor, and they're growing everything and dyeing everything from within 150 miles. And it's expensive. It's definitely not for normal people to buy. It's very expensive, but they're creating the infrastructure to be able to produce those things, and they're actually able to support a lot of farmers and a lot of people who are working with their hands. And to me, that's a really big success, because they're moving towards having that independence there. And so we actually have so many resources here too that we could develop in that direction. This is just a little model to show, like, to create fiber from the farm all the way to us wearing it on our bodies or sleeping on it at night. This is what it could look like. So you have the fiber and dye processing, you have the people who make it, you have the designers, like the fashion designers, you have the actual, they make the clothing. The clothing, we want to design stuff that is natural. We want to use natural materials and dye so that we can compost it afterwards, because that will add to our soil and make it more fertile. And then that fertile soil supports the production of animals and of plants that can be then used to make more. And so it becomes a complete cycle that gives us some independence from these other relationships. And imagine just all of the jobs that are part of that too, right?
So natural stuff, Jonah, decomposes.
Exactly.
Natural stuff. The stuff that we wear though,
Exactly.
plastics don't
Exactly.
decompose,
Right.
right?
But you'll last for 1,000 years.
But they'll last for 1,000 years.
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking like acrylic or polyester and stuff. These are petroleum products. If you're wearing cotton or linen or wool in your sweater, these are animal and plant products. And so that's what nature has made to decompose. And petroleum is just highly processed, so it takes a lot longer to become soil sourcing fibers just from within California. We have the Central Valley, which is so lucky because they grow so much cotton. And then in Northern California, they throw away over 1 million pounds of wool every year. They throw it away. It's just waste wool is what it's called. They've done, this group in Northern California has done surveys of it, so they've already done that work for us. And begun to work with some of that, and it's actually good quality. The farmers say that it's not good enough, but they've tested it and it is. And so beginning to use some of those waste products to create material goods. We could be sourcing our dyes from within this county too. We are lucky that we have an arid climate here because the plants are much more potent because they're not watered down. So the colors, we have a beautiful array of natural colors here, and we're gonna get to work with one of those today. Which reminds me, I should turn this off. And of course we can source our labor here. We have amazing people who know how to work in this community. And we want to source from farms that are really beneficial and don't cause harm to the earth if it's possible. So that's another goal for this. So we have the sheep up in Northern California, we have the cotton over in the Central Valley, and they become these beautiful products. And this is sticky monkey flower. You'll find it all over here. I love that name. It really is sticky. And that's the color that it makes. It's this beautiful color. I think these ones are marigold over on the right, and that's the beautiful color it makes. I don't know what this one is, but I love that color in the picture.
Could that be hibiscus on the side?
It might be. I was thinking that or hollyhock, maybe a dark hollyhock. But because those are just some examples. There's, I mean, almost everything that you can't eat out in the wild here you can use for other purposes like medicine or for dye. And so this is just briefly like what I was mentioning, that synthetic dye is made from oil refinement, and especially for people who work like in a dye processing factory, it can cause a lot of problems like these kinds of cancer and asthma and dermatitis where they're exposed. Whereas when you're working with natural dyes, the plants are actually shown to be medicine. So they're shown to aid instead of be a problem. So that brings us into just talking about some of this natural dye stuff. And this is one of my absolute favorites that I'm a beginner dyer, and I just started working the last few months with the Grana cochinilla, the cochineal beetle. This is a color that I made. This one was dyed from cochineal in Peru. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about.
So that's a bug.
You've seen it before. Yeah, you know what it, well, if you're, who is from Oaxaca? You're from Oaxaca?
She had to leave.
Oh, she had to go. Yeah, so in Oaxaca, it's a big industry there. But it makes a purple or a deep red. It looks like this. You'll find it on the roadsides. Have you seen it on the roadsides now that you've seen the picture?
Yeah,
You recognize it?
tuna.
Yeah, exactly. So the nopales and the tunas on top.
You eat that, it's like fruit.
Yeah, it's delicious.
It's that one there, right?
Do you want the nopal?
You get on the green or you get on red?
Yeah, but the white stuff is what I'm talking about.
The little, yes.
The white stuff that looks like a fungus, that is a beetle. The white part is its nest. If you take your finger and you squish it, it's red. That's how you know what it is. And oh, just that you can know where to look around for these, right? So these grow very hot. They grow on a south-facing slope. And if you start getting interested in using these products, it gives you this really nice connection with the natural world too, because you have to start thinking, which way is south? Where would this be most likely to grow? And so it gives you a reason to be motivated to pay attention to your natural world and think, oh, I think I know where that's going to be. And for me, it is so joyful to go out and collect this and to collect plants from the natural world. And so it's also, this has a long history, the cochineal beetle. It was grown by the Aztecs. It was used as a tribute. And then when Spanish colonists came over in the 1600s, they brought it back to Europe, and there became huge demand for it. It's worth more than gold in its weight. And the redcoats, the British Army, were dyed with this and another dye as well, but that's a lot. So it's a very potent dye. give it the red color. They eat the tunas, and so that's where they get that. And I can tell you probably have eaten cochineal before. It's a natural food dye, and so like these products, you guys all have raise your hand if you have Skittles. So if you've had Skittles, you've eaten it before, which is actually fine with me because I would rather have that than like red dye 4D. And there's these other products. It's called Carmine if you look on the back of your food, which I hope you do. So we're gonna put our pieces of wool into the dye vat in a second. The pieces that you have here are a wool that has been spun. It is from a kind of sheep called Navajo Churro sheep. It's one of the oldest breeds of sheep that there is. Could somebody turn on the light over here? I'm gonna ask you guys once you've written your name on that tag, and make sure it's in Sharpie because it will come off otherwise. You can just come over and I want you to smell this and stir it and just see what it's like so you can know. This is all grown with cochineal. This is all a vat of cochineal that's from Ojai. I harvested a couple days ago. And once you come over here, I'll also show you just how to harvest it from the plant. So
are we supposed to leave these tied up?
Yes, please leave them tied up.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise they'll get tangled like spaghetti in the bottom. And I will, I'll show you how I put the dye in as well. Yeah, I forgot to mention this.
You're gonna go die?
What's your shirt?
I think it's
because you know I love why I read it, but I can't wear it because usually they're policy. Where did you get your last time I was in Sonora? Nobody wears
Just watch that you guys don't stumble over the wires, okay, guys? Just be careful.
This is all made from this little bead. Yeah, so it was just water. I put it in, and you guys can move in a little bit and then gather around because I want to show you guys about how I put it in. So you can do it if you want to.
Are we all putting our stuff in?
Yeah, everyone should put their thing in.
Drop it in.
I'm gonna cover this up. That's fine like that, but I'm gonna cover it up.
Oh, okay. Of course.
No.
Oh, thank you for that. That was wise.
Ready to go for
You're saying the bug is the white thing on the paper?
Yeah, so this white is actually, it's a nest. It's not fungi. No, the bug makes this nest around itself, and the bug is inside. Yeah, just drop the whole thing in.
You know, I've never seen that. I've been, that's a different kind of thing.
Have you seen the white stuff?
Never.
Have to keep an eye out. This one is not alive. It's been sitting in the sun for a while, so it dries out and it dies.
Yeah, there was
Did everybody get their sampling?
including 5 years of civil war.
Anyone else? Antonio? Bring it over. Come on. Your little piece of wall.
How long does it take you?
At least, I want to leave it in here for as long as possible. But I would say at least like half an hour. We'll take them at the end of the day. You guys, I'll give you some bags. I just love those. Then you know I need more bags. Just drop a little bit in there. Oh, the tag is here, so you know who it is afterwards. Yeah, there's a little bag, plastic bag, and a Sharpie.
What's the other part?
You see a lot of these.
Actually, the other hand is over there, and there's a new lady over here. You want to grab one? Yeah, exactly. No, wait, there's my
Hopefully there is money in somewhere down the road. Getting close.
All right, can you gather in a little closer, because then I can demonstrate this, what it looks like. Thank you. Thank you.
They don't like our results.
I want you guys to pass this around. You can touch it. This one is a dried one. This one is from Peru. And I ordered this one online. And that's the way I got it first. And then I was like, wait, I don't need to do that. And so that's from Peru, which is the main place this is grown now for import for the U.S., which is pretty far when we have it right here. And I was just saying, Julia was asking, you were asking, or no, you weren't asking. Somebody was asking. Frank was asking about if this grows all over. And the species of cactus is the Opuntia cactus. This grows all over the U.S., but the cochineal is not adapted to the climate of anywhere else that I know about in the U.S. other than Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. Wow. So when we're talking about these resources, this is an amazing resource for us because it is very valuable in the fashion market, right? Because it's a natural dye and people will pay twice as much for something that is locally produced. So we're here really close to LA where that's a huge industry, and so it's a possibility for us to use that to take care of this resource that we have and help it to benefit us as well. I just wanted you guys to pass around or to get to look at some of this too. If you want to hold it in your hand, don't squish it, just hold it like this and you can pass it from person to person. Do you want to touch it?
It don't bite.
Yeah. Wow. It's very light. And I'll pass a little the other way too. There you go. Don't squish it. And then I just want to show you how I did it.
Are you permanently that color?
No, I was using it this morning. Thank you for asking that. That's funny. I know I just put on like nice clothes and I was like, no, it seems, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm lifting in here. I don't want to splash you. But there's basically this like giant tea bag in here. So this thing has all the cochineal inside it that I gathered. And it's just a piece of cloth, but it's essentially making tea. That's all you're doing. It's just glorified making tea. I can tell you, I put a little vinegar in here too, because it helps to bring out the red tones. If you don't do vinegar, it's more alkaline, and so it's more purple, and that's why, like you'll see on the darning later, that it's more purple with the first batch we did. Just white vinegar, yeah. I just wanted to show you guys some of the other tools that, just so that you can see how simple this is. Actually, everything that I know about this, I learned from this woman. I just took one workshop with her, and actually I just needed the book. I didn't even need to meet her. But I got to meet her, and she was wonderful. And she's the person, Rebecca Burgess, she started this group in Northern California that's doing this 150-mile clothing. So she's awesome, super
Where's she
amazing.
located?
She's in San Geronimo, so in like the Marin area, of course.
There's another group around Los Gatos.
Nice.
Yes.
I'd like to know about them. But if you want to take a picture of the cochineal page, then you can have the recipe here. if you would like to take a picture of it, it will be here. Can you This is a mineral called alum. This is used. I use this on the white wool before you put it in there. It basically speaks the same language. It speaks the language of the dye, and it speaks the language of the fiber, and it translates between them. That's the best way to describe it. It chemically translates, so it helps to bond the dye to the fiber. You don't have to use it, but it helps it to not come out later.
What's the origin of alum?
It's a naturally occurring mineral. You can go to places in the Southwest and collect it off mountainsides. But I ordered this from online, and this is like a lifetime supply. This is so much. Basically. And then I used this postage scale, which I borrowed from my parents. And
I'll never come back.
And they're never going to get it back, ever. No, they are, I promise. And it just helps me because I had to weigh the difference between the weight of the fiber and the weight of the cochineal. And so I just wanted to show you how I harvested the cochineal. This is like part of a takeout box, or you could use a business card. And basically, I took it like this, and I just scrape it kind of like this little zigzag motion, and then you put it into your jar. I was using a nice light plastic cup the other day when I was harvesting. And this one actually doesn't have that much on it, but it's important also. I mean, you'll find it just on roadsides, but it's important also when you see it like this and you're harvesting it, you just leave a little bit always, because you want them to be able to recolonize it, right? And you can see some of them have squished in the transportation, but I want to go for like the big ones like this, and you'll find it even bigger. And you guys, if you're passing it around, you can kind of see.
This is the black one, the ones you ordered, right? So
that's from Peru, yeah. So that one's been dried out. I haven't figured out how they dry it out to get it to be that nice yet. So if anybody figures it out, please tell me, because this is messier, but it's a really potent dye.
Yeah.
And then I took this to make the one that we're using today. I actually used a stocking because it's a nice weight. We'll see how this goes. And I just put it in, and I made a little tea bag. So I'm just going to tie it up and see if that works, hopefully.
A food dehydrator.
Yeah, food dehydrator, that's a good idea.
Or if you don't have one, you can always dry it in the sun.
Yeah, I've been trying to do it in the sun.
You know how you make beef jerky and you do a hydrator?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, so I'm just making a little tea bag like that.
Is that cloth?
What's that? It's just a piece of cotton that I got like from a fabric remnant. But really, like if you got a stocking at a thrift store, that would be the best. Like cut off the foot of the stocking. So now I have this little tea bag. You can see it's starting to like bleed through a little bit if I squish it. That's why my hands are red. Ruth was asking. I pulled this one out because it wasn't giving off that much color, and I was like kneading it. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna put it in, and it'll dye that fabric too, which will be nice. And then I use the thermometer, and the thermometer, there's instructions in this recipe of how to use hot and cold. It's a candy thermometer.
So it's better to have it at a certain temperature?
Yeah, you have to have it up between 185 and 200 for a while, and then you have to cool it off for 15 minutes, heat it up for a half hour. So it's just off and on, off and on. And it's nice if you have other things you're doing while you do it.
Other than basic knowledge, are you using this process to make your own clothes?
I haven't yet. I'm new to it, like I said. So the last few months, I've just been exploring dyeing, this aspect, and I've been exploring sewing for years, but I'm not very good at making clothes, honestly. That's why I make quilts. But I'm really interested. The next step for me and for the county and for our fiber shed here is to try to order some cotton from nearby, try to order some wool from nearby, and try to create some prototypes of what it would look like to make a product that's from within like 200 miles here. I don't think we can do 150 where we are, but make a product, like make a shirt or something like that that's just from within here, and see what that looks like. So, yeah.
Can you give me the name of a city in Central Valley? I'm not sure if I know.
In the Central Valley. Yeah, bakers, like the whole,
Napa Valley.
thank you guys.
When they have wine, though, we can make dyes out of that.
Yeah, they grow a lot of cotton out there. And there's also,
the #1 cotton growing state.
yeah, it is a lot of cotton. There's debates about like the water usage of cotton out there, which are big right now.
Question.
Yeah,
You said that you want to import cotton from Europe?
no, from the Central Valley, from really close.
Biggest state, brother.
Yeah, just over the hill.
150 miles radius.
Just over the hill is where we want to get it from. Because then we cut out all of the costs of transportation. We cut out all of the fossil fuels of transportation.
Well, random thought went through my mind.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Okay, I'm saying it.
Yeah.
Say it.
Well, I was thinking what if we actually created like an actual business, say when you start a business and you hire people within the community who are, to provide them with jobs and to possibly give them that type of position of giving power to Black and brown communities.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about.
So here's the business model.
You're talking really softly, but that's what we're talking about.
The real thing. What we're gonna do is we are going maybe not completely weave the cotton, but we're gonna go to somewhere local where the cotton is already woven. We've been given the idea of hand dyeing, so we create our own art, we create our own designers, and then we create the people that are gonna sew, and then we create our marketing product, and it's straight out of Chicas. And it's called the Chicas purse. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. That's where we're going.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
So we're talking about creating these livelihoods, and it's the kind of thing you can be dyeing here at Cafe One, and you can bring your kids, and you can be here, and you can make a product that at first maybe you're charging a lot, and you're doing just really direct marketing to Los Angeles. You find an outlet there that wants to sell it for a high price, and that gives you the money to be able to purchase dye pots, to be able to purchase transportation if you need to go out and collect the plants and stuff. So at first you charge a lot, and the goal is to be able to charge less and have it more affordable. So the next thing we're going to do, I'll just show you. This is the last thing we're going to do, and thanks for hanging in there. We're going to have the chance to work with some of these fibers that have been dyed already on the migrants' clothes. This is part of an effort to make the next quilt. So you guys are part of the next big community quilt, and several other communities like at Cal State Channel Islands, they just worked on this project. And so we're going to be mending, and that, is anyone familiar with this process already? Have you seen it or seen your grandma do it maybe? This stuff right here. Sewing, basically. Yeah.
Sewing.
It's like fixing, yeah. There's not a direct translation, but I know. But in English, it's darning. So I think it's funny because we're dying and we're darning.
Yes, the double D.
That's kind of funny. Yes, that's exactly the same. Okay. Do we have any weavers in this group? Yeah. It's like, how did I learn about this? My mom. So in weaving, I'll just show you. I have a little slide. This is the same picture here. In weaving, there's the warp. So like this, you just do it all one way. And then there's the weft, which you go over, under, over, under, over, under. And that's the process. Yeah. So Ruth has done her socks this way. Do you like them? Yeah. I love my darn socks. Yeah. So I'm hoping.
Throw them away.
Thank you for wearing those. Thank you for wearing those. That's so helpful. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you, Mama. Yeah. No, but really, if you like to use your hands, or if you want to just, you can watch a movie and be darning. So I'm hoping that this is a skill that you can take home and take away with you today after this, and when you'll have your little piece of paper you can take home and you can use it to darn your socks if you want. Then you can keep your socks because socks are nice.
Especially the
they're
nice
expensive.
warm ones.
Yeah, like the smart wool or like the wool ones. You want to be able to just fix the hole. So we're going to sit down in a minute, and we're going to pass out different yarns. I'll tell you about them real quick before we sit down. But this is the basic pattern you're going to do. You're going to go all one direction. You can kind of see it's a zigzag. They just went in, out, and then back, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. And they created this warp across here. And they went a few stitches beyond the hole to reinforce it, because that's where it's weakest, right? And then they're going to just come out with one piece of yarn, hopefully, and they're going to leave it and tie a knot. And then they're going to take a whole nother piece, and they're going to go in, out, back and forth, and they're going to go over, under, over, under. And so, if you want to see this, this is cochineal. This is the Peruvian cochineal, and it came out really purple. And this is avocado pits that were collected from an orchard in Ojai. Avocado pits, the pits. You remember how you can kind of see on the skin, it's kind of pinkish. There's other ones here, which the students at Cal State Channel Islands just did this. This is a flower called Coreopsis, which is native to Santa Cruz Island. And you can pass that around. What other ones? Oh, this is another. The denim is a really nice choice. When you're choosing which material you're going to darn a hole in, somebody can do this one and some of the ones that are already started. But the denim is good because it's really strong. That red stuff. This stuff is really weak, so if you have a gentle hand, choose this. If you're not so sure, do the denim. This gray, which is beautiful, like slate gray, this is made from oak galls. So those galls that come off of oak trees, those are actually a wasp nest. The wasp makes the tree, sends out a hormone, and the tree creates that little ball. And when the ball drops, you collect it, and you hammer it up and use it. This person didn't quite finish. If anyone finish.
I guess you can get black from the outside of the walnut.
Yeah.
So these are just a couple of the other options that we have. This is also cochineal, so it's a lot redder. And this pink is also cochineal, done with the Ojai cochineal. And it was a very, it's not very concentrated, so it came out really pale pink. It's a beautiful pink. And so that's the variation in the color you can get with cochineal. And then this one is toyon, which is a shrub that grows a lot in our forests around here. The leaves of the toyon. This is the coreopsis, they're kind of similar. So on this table over here, you will find everything you need to darn. There's needles, like big darning needles. I'm just wondering, does everybody, raise your hand if you know how to sew in this room?
That would be another important thing.
Great, so if you keep your hands up if you know how to sew. Other people that, if you're not raising your hand, look at who knows how to sew. And I would like you to ask them and ask people. We have resources in this room that can help. So I'm going to get you to take your Jackie over here. This purple stuff has already been cut to some good length, so you might want to take that. Or you can choose another color. Any of these are up for grabs? Yes. One other thing I will say. If you're having trouble threading your needle, there's this big, beautiful hunk of beeswax here that a friend in Ojai, these bees made it. Y esta todo es de
Yeah.
This is helping.
Right.
And that's what we're working on right now. We're working with building there's some quilts that have made already. I know we're working on things that are we're talking about how
Jackie. Ese mismo. Gracias. Ay. Es que es gracioso, mami, está chiquitito.
Yes.
Yeah, you can take that one.
Es que a mí me tocó uno, mira, que están todos desgarrados. Pero lo que me interesó fue que esto fue encontrado en la frontera. Son ropas que ella ha encontrado en la frontera. Y entonces ella... ¿Para echarlo a la cazuela? ¿Para qué?
Para pintarla.
Ya lo eché, ya puse mi nombre, ya. La niña y yo ya lo pusimos.
Muy bien.
Hello?
Estaba buenísimo el rollo.
No, I know. You gonna take credit for that, brother?
Right here, that's me.
We got Renee, daughter, sisters.
Where's the cups? Either way. Ziplock's
I
fine.
don't think I have enough Ziplocs for everybody.
We could put
So whichever one.
mine and my wife's.
I'll put it in for you. So you don't have to touch it. It won't dye your hands. I was just squeezing the tea bag. So
Not permanent,
no. Well, not on hands.
Not
It is permanent on the fibers though.
So we wash it and then let it dry.
I would say let it dry first once and then wash it. Here's Frank and Debbie. Yours came out, Debbie. This one is Jazz Art, Cafe on Egg.
Oh, they came out beautiful. They're so dark.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Now, why are they so nice and dark?
Because there was a lot of cochineal to the white of the fabric.
Very good. Oh, how neat.
So we got a tangle with
It's really concentrated.
No, she said let them completely dry first, then wash it.
And wash it really good until the water runs clear. Here's Anna. She already left.
She had to leave. I'll see her next
Okay,
week.
yeah, you
I'll
can. This one, I don't know whose it is. It came off.
Oh, that was Alyssa.
Okay.
That was yours because we had to do it in ink because we didn't have one and we folded over the
Yeah,
edge.
because the Sharpie is really the only one that stayed. I don't know who this is.
¿Quieres sacarlos y meterse
Well, I know
Maybe Antonio. You can keep some of them here for people.
We'll save one for him.
This one's Isaac.
Isaac, look. He's smiling. He's so happy. You want to see it?
Yours made it, Isaac.
Yay, Isaac.
Ándale.
This is Maggie. You can put in just little cups. Did you see yours? Oh yeah, I didn't see yours out loud. Somebody's, their tag fell out. Someone who had like a hanging tag. That was.
I see Jazzer.
This one.
So I can get a bag?
Yeah, and I can put it in for you if you want.
No, put it right there, and right now we're gonna get a bag and you put in a bag.
Bring up, just put these paper towels. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
He said the article was great.
Kind of like a big potion. This one
So I can get cranberries and boil in there and it turn into cranberry juice or what?
I don't know. Some things don't stay. Like that's the difference. Like you can't really tell except for by test, or you can look it up. I don't know if cranberries would stay or not. This is margarita.
You put it in a little bag.
Do you want it in a bag? Here, let's do it.
Somebody, what happened here, somebody tied two together.
Oh, on like the edge of your sink until it dries out and then rinse it completely.
Doesn't matter how much you put, so it's just,
Here, I'll take it. Nancy?
That'd be my wife.
Let's hope to, huh? And yours already's in here, yeah?
Yeah.
Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Let's see what else we got.
So are you close to here or where?
That's yours? Nice. Found it.
So when you're up to dancing,